It was supposed to be a simple family day out, just a quiet afternoon in the woods, a quick stop by a playground and some fresh air, but something went wrong. In a quiet spot near an old wooden bar, someone disappeared. No one saw what happened. No one heard a thing. And when her husband showed up asking for help, his story felt off. At first, it seemed like a mystery without clues, but soon, strange details started to surface. This is the story of Melania Rea and the dark truth that slowly came to light. If you're a fan of true crime and criminal investigations, you won't want to miss our new book, The Ultimate Book of Serial Killers, 180 Files of the World's Most Notorious Murderers, now available on Amazon. You can also purchase the PDF version directly from our website for instant download. You'll find the link in the video description and in a pinned comment. Now, let's dive into today's case. Nestled at the base of Mount Vesuvius in southern Italy lies the quiet postcard-perfect town of Somma Vesuviana. Life here moves at a slower pace, guided by tradition, faith, and family. Among its narrow streets and sun-washed piazzas lived Carmela Rea, known to all simply as Melania. Born on August 10, 1982, Melania was raised in a home defined by love and strong family values. Her parents, Gennaro and Verica, were deeply respected members of the community. Gennaro worked hard to support his children, and Verica managed the household with care and discipline. Melania's older brother, Michel, was her closest companion, her confidant. Like their father, Michel would later join the Italian Air Force. Service to country was a thread that ran deep through the Rea family. Melania stood out from an early age. She radiated warmth and sincerity, and people were naturally drawn to her. Friends described her as the sunshine of the group, a title that fit her cheerful spirit and boundless empathy. Whether helping a friend in need or lighting up a room with her laughter, Melania carried with her a sense of openness and genuine kindness. After finishing high school, Melania found herself at a turning point. Life in Somma Vesuviana was safe and familiar, but it was also limiting. She dreamed of a future with meaning. One path called her toward higher education. She had a passion for languages, especially Spanish, and imagined herself one day studying it formally. Another path, perhaps even stronger, was the dream of building a loving home, just like the one she came from. That summer in 2007, during a holiday trip to Naples with her friends, Melania's life changed. Through mutual acquaintances, she met a young soldier named Salvatore Paralisi. He was confident, charismatic, and stationed with the military in northern Italy. He was visiting Naples while on leave, and the connection between them was immediate. Their first meeting was marked by laughter and ease, a rare and unforced bond. Salvatore was a military instructor, sharp, disciplined, and serious. Melania, with her tenderness and optimism, seemed to complement him perfectly. Though initially cautious, She came to believe in the relationship. He spoke of building a future together, of settling down, of starting a family. It was everything she had hoped for. In time, Melania made a life-changing decision. She would leave her hometown and move with Salvatore to Ascoli Piceno, where he was based. It was a bittersweet departure. She left behind the comfort of her family, the town where she had grown up, and the everyday presence of her parents and brother. But she stepped into a new chapter, one filled with promise. The couple eventually married, and Melania soon became pregnant. Salvatore's demanding career often kept him away, but Melania pressed on. As her pregnancy advanced, she returned to Somma Vesuviana, needing the care and support of her family during the final months. Being close to her mother and father gave her strength. In 2009, Melania gave birth to their daughter, Vittoria. The birth was a joyful occasion. Surrounded by her loved ones in the hospital, Melania beamed with pride. For a moment, everything seemed to align. The future she had long dreamed of was now within reach. But when Salvatore finally arrived at the hospital, something was off. He was distant, distracted. Not even a simple bouquet of flowers accompanied him. Melania noticed, of course, but said nothing. Her heart was full with the joy of motherhood, and she let the moment pass. Back at home, Melania embraced her new role with grace and devotion. She became the center of their household, pouring every bit of her energy into raising Vittoria and creating a loving environment. But beneath the surface, she was struggling. The move to Ascoli Piceno had taken her far from her family, and the distance was more than just physical. With Salvatore frequently away on military duty, Melania was left to manage everything alone, day after day, night after night. Though she rarely voiced it, Melania was lonely, isolated from the community she grew up in, separated from her lifelong friends, and often alone with a small child. The weight of her solitude quietly accumulated. But Melania remained hopeful. She kept smiling, stayed committed, and continued to believe that the future she had dreamed of was still possible. Then came April 2011. That afternoon, the family visited Col San Marco, a serene mountain area near Ascoli Piceno. It was a popular spot for outings, green, peaceful, and ideal for a child's playtime. Melania, Salvatore, and their 2-year-old daughter Vittoria had arrived together, planning what appeared to be an ordinary family afternoon. At approximately 3:45 p.m., a man walked into Bar Sager, a modest local bar frequented by locals. He was carrying a toddler in his arms and looked visibly agitated. His outfit stood out, a short-sleeved t-shirt and shorts, unusual for an April afternoon in the Italian countryside. The man was Salvatore Parolisi. He told those present that he was looking for his wife. According to him, the family had been at the nearby playground when Melania said she needed to use the restroom. She walked toward Bar Sager but never came back. That had been more than 30 minutes ago, Salvatore claimed, and she was still missing. Gianna, the bar owner's wife, listened as Salvatore spoke. He was pacing, panicking, repeating over and over again, "They've taken her. They've kidnapped her. They've killed her." His words were chilling, especially given how little time had passed. Gianna found his reaction oddly intense, considering the circumstances. Trying to offer a more rational explanation, she suggested that maybe Melania had simply met someone she knew or wandered into another nearby establishment. To help, Gianna walked outside with Salvatore and asked if he had tried calling Melania. He said yes, several times. Her phone rang, but she never answered. Over the next hour, Gianna stayed with Salvatore, helping him search the area. But there was no trace of Melania. No one had seen her. The trail was cold. Eventually, they returned to the bar. Gianna, increasingly concerned, suggested they contact the police. Salvatore's reaction was sudden and strange. He locked himself in the bathroom. It was only after Gianna insisted, and with prompting from the emergency operator on the phone, that Salvatore reluctantly emerged to speak. He introduced himself as a soldier with the 235th Training Regiment stationed in Ascoli Piceno and described how his wife, Melania Rea, had allegedly disappeared after heading to the restroom. The police operator immediately dispatched a unit to Colle San Marco. Soon after, a fellow soldier, one of Salvatore's friends, arrived at the scene with his wife. Their arrival was timely. Little Vittoria was still in Salvatore's arms, crying uncontrollably, hungry, and frightened. His friend's wife took over caring for the child. From the outset, the police officers found the situation unusual. Salvatore's panic seemed disproportionate given the short time Melania had been missing. His repeated claims that she had been kidnapped or killed raised immediate suspicions. In typical missing person scenarios, especially in the first hour, people often consider benign explanations. A walk, a friendly encounter, a simple delay. But Salvatore jumped straight to the worst-case scenario, and there were other things that didn't sit right. When asked to assist in the search, Salvatore told the officers that he couldn't be of much help. He wasn't familiar with the area. That statement was met with skepticism. Colle San Marco wasn't just a public recreation area, it was also a regular site for military exercises. As a topographer in the regiment, Salvatore's role involved mapping terrain. His unfamiliarity with this location made little sense. While Salvatore answered police questions, his friend's wife went to retrieve a diaper bag from the car to feed and change Vittoria. But the bag wasn't there. Instead, she found a black suitcase, a military backpack, and a blanket stored in the trunk. That discovery was troubling. Melania was a meticulous mother. She never left home without essentials for her daughter. Later that evening, Melania's close friend Sonia arrived to help with the search. She also noticed strange details. Vittoria didn't have her pacifier, her water bottle, or enough clothing for the chilly weather. It was completely out of character for Melania to leave the house so unprepared, especially when caring for a 2-year-old. As concern turned into urgency, the police deployed a tracking dog trained with a highly sensitive nose. The dog was given Melania's scent from the family car. It picked up the trail, crossed the road, past the playground near Bar Sagar, and then lost the scent completely. It was as if Melania had vanished into thin air. Salvatore was then brought to the local police station to file a formal missing person report. During the interview, the officers asked a direct question. Was everything okay between him and his wife? Salvatore answered without hesitation, yes. He said their relationship was perfect and calmly recounted the day's events. He added that Melania had recently undergone surgery for a hernia. At 3 a.m., Salvatore returned to their home, where Melania's parents, her brother Michel, and baby Vittoria were waiting. Michel immediately noticed something strange. Salvatore was carrying the same black suitcase from the car. The family stayed up until dawn, trying to piece together what had happened. Salvatore told the story again in full. Once everyone left, Salvatore remained alone. Later, neighbors would report an odd sound coming from the house, the washing machine running late into the night. By the next morning, April 19th, Salvatore showed up at work, but significantly later than usual. To colleagues, he explained that he had returned to Colle San Marco to join the search, but the police had refused to let him participate. By April 20th, just 2 days after Melania Rea was reported missing, the investigation took a dramatic turn. That morning, Police officers searched the apartment that Melania and Salvatore shared. Nothing seemed out of place. No signs of struggle. No clues. But everything changed that same afternoon. A call came into the local police station. The man on the line was anonymous. His voice hurried. He claimed to have discovered a woman's body while walking through Ripe di Civitella, a remote wooded area not far from Ascoli. Before officers could gather more information, the caller hung up. Investigators rushed to the scene. There, near an old shuttered wooden bar deep in the forest, they found her, Melania. She was lying in the grass, lifeless, brutally murdered. Her body was soaked in blood. She had suffered over 30 stab wounds. The attack was vicious, rage-filled. But even more disturbing were the markings on her body. A large X had been carved into her chest. A syringe was found nearby, placed near her heart. Personal items were scattered around the body, including Melania's phone. It wasn't robbery. This was something else, something personal. The location itself added to the mystery. The bar beside where Melania was found was known locally as a hangout for far-right sympathizers, including its owner and some regular patrons. This raised early theories. Could her killer have been someone from the bar, a random attacker, a drug addict, or was someone trying to steer the investigation in the wrong direction? Suspicion quickly circled back to where it had quietly lingered from the beginning: Salvatore Parolisi. When investigators contacted Salvatore to inform him of the discovery, they asked him to identify the body. He refused. Instead, it was Melania's brother who arrived at Salvatore's home that evening. They spoke about the discovery. But then, Salvatore said something strange, disturbing even. He claimed that 2 weeks earlier, he and Melania had visited that very spot in the woods and that they had been intimate there. Why offer that detail? Why now? It made no sense. But Salvatore had already been under suspicion long before the body was found. From the moment he filed the missing person report, the police had begun monitoring him. They had planted bugs in his car and tapped his phone. And on April 19th, just one day after Melania vanished, Salvatore made a revealing phone call. He wasn't calling police. He wasn't calling family. He was calling Ludovica, his lover. The two spoke in hushed tones. Salvatore told her Melania was missing and urged her to delete every message he had ever sent. He wanted to protect her from what was coming. Ludovica was one of his subordinates in the military. Their relationship had begun with flirtation during training. It escalated quickly. Texting, secret meetings, and eventually, full-blown infidelity. At the time their affair began, Melania had been pregnant and living with her parents. After the birth of their daughter, she returned to their shared apartment. That's when Salvatore rented a second flat. His secret life needed its own space. Even after Ludovica moved to the outskirts of Rome, the affair continued. They stayed in contact constantly. Salvatore even used a second phone just for her. He made promises, telling Ludovica he would leave Melania. Meanwhile, he told Melania that she was his one and only. He was living two lives, built on lies. And now, one of those lives had come to a bloody end. For 2 years, Ludovica waited for promises to be fulfilled, for a future with the man she believed loved her. Salvatore had told her everything she wanted to hear. He said he was going to leave his wife. He even told her they would spend Easter together in Amalfi to finally meet her parents. But as the holiday approached, the truth became harder to ignore. At the last moment, Salvatore sent Ludovica a message. He couldn't go. He needed more time to talk to Melania, but he insisted, "I'm almost done with everything. I've sorted things out with her. Soon we'll be together." That message was the final straw. Ludovica responded with fury. She no longer believed him. He had promised her Easter, a new beginning, and now she was left alone again. She called him a liar, accused him of manipulating her with a fantasy that never existed. Salvatore claimed he couldn't leave Melania because she had recently undergone surgery, but Ludovica had heard enough. She gave him an ultimatum. After Easter, he had to come to Amalfi. Her mother was ready to book a hotel, and if he didn't show up, it was over. What neither of them knew was that the investigators were already listening. Salvatore's car and phone had been bugged for days. The surveillance revealed that even on the day of Melania's disappearance, Salvatore had been in contact with Ludovica. Yet, there was no mention of leaving his wife that night, no sign of any imminent separation. It soon emerged that Ludovica was not the first. Salvatore had a pattern, affairs with multiple women in his military unit. He maintained a double life with ease, using a second phone to communicate with Ludovica while reassuring Melania of his devotion. But Melania may have discovered the truth again, and this time she may have confronted him. Salvatore's entire narrative began to crumble. He had claimed they were at a playground the day Melania went missing, but witnesses who were there during that exact time saw nothing. Photos taken that day showed no sign of Salvatore, Melania, or their daughter. And even more telling, Melania's phone had not connected to any nearby cell towers. According to forensic experts, Melania was killed between 2:30 and 3:30 p.m. on April 18, 2011, right where her body was later found. She had suffered 35 stab wounds. The defensive cuts on her hands told a painful story. She had fought back. She did not die instantly. She bled to death over the course of nearly 30 minutes. Her pants and underwear had been pulled down, but there was no sign of sexual assault. Her bladder was empty, suggesting she may have been urinating when attacked. DNA evidence confirmed that Salvatore's genetic material was present. 2 days later, on the morning of April 20th, Melania's phone was switched on for 15 seconds at 7:20 a.m. It's suspected that Salvatore returned to the scene to tamper with evidence, possibly placing items on or near her body to mislead the investigation. On July 14, 2011, Salvatore Parolisi was arrested and charged with Melania's murder. He proclaimed his innocence, and because of his status in the military, the trial was held behind closed doors. Initially sentenced to 30 years in prison, his sentence was later reduced to 20 years on appeal. The court cited his rehabilitation efforts in prison. He had taken a job as a switchboard operator and passed several law exams. To some, these were signs of a man reforming. To others, they were signs of a man still manipulating his surroundings. After serving 12 years, Salvatore was granted parole. But in 2023, during a televised interview, Salvatore made a statement that shocked the public and the court. "I betrayed Melania several times, but I didn't kill her." The parole board took notice. The tone of his interview showed no accountability, no understanding of the magnitude of his actions. As a result, his parole was revoked. He was ordered to return to prison. The judge made it clear Salvatore had failed to respect the opportunity he'd been given. There would be no more second chances. The remainder of his sentence would be served behind bars, with the hope that, one day, he might finally confront the truth. At just 29 years old, Salvatore had everything: a family, a stable career, a child who adored him. But through betrayal, manipulation, and ultimately violence, he destroyed the very life he claimed to cherish. Their daughter, Vittoria, now 15, lives with her maternal grandparents. She has taken her mother's surname and severed ties with her father. In his interview, Salvatore described Melania as beautiful and claimed to regret her death. Yet, when speaking of his affair with Ludovica, he brushed it off. It was just a fling. But to Melania, It wasn't just betrayal, it was a death sentence. The tragic case of Melania Rea remains a haunting reminder of how deception and emotional abuse can spiral into irreparable violence. A daughter grows up without her mother and without her father, and the truth, however buried or denied, always finds its way back to the surface. Thanks for tuning in to Unreal True Crime. If you're intrigued by mysteries from around the world, check out our new channel, Latin Crimes, where we dive into the gripping true crime stories of Latin America. Don't miss out. Subscribe now for more thrilling investigations.